Two Right Turns is back, as is Clemson offensive coordinator Chad Morris, today's guest. We're going to talk a little bit about his return to Clemson, how his offensive philosophy has evolved, what he learned in his time away in 2025, and what it's going to take to get these horses to run in 2026. Two Right Turns starts now.
You take those two right turns, and when they make the final turn, you can begin to hear the crowd and the noise of the open end of the stadium.
Here it is, the most exciting 25 seconds in college football.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Studio C of the Clemson Athletics Branding Institute for another episode of Two Right Turns, a Clemson football podcast. I'm your host, Ross Taylor, and I am joined today by someone who's making his Two Right Turns debut, but is not new to the Clemson FB social media universe. It is the return of Clemson offensive coordinator Chad Morris. Coach, welcome to the show.
Glad to be a part of it, and excited to sit and visit a little bit, and get to kind of express my excitement about being back home.
Well, we were talking as we were walking in here. It's evolved around here a little bit as you made your way into the Athletic Branding Institute today. But just want to talk to you about the timeline of how this all happened. I mean, when did you have an idea that this might be a possibility? What were your early conversations with Coach Sweeney like?
Well, obviously, this is a place that me and my family truly love, and we've always followed Clemson since the day we left. Such a great part of our experience and our coaching. The background of me is so much built from right here, and so I always watched Clemson through the years, and Coach Sweeney and I would talk we would communicate through text, through just whether it's a phone call here and there. But usually text, several times a month, and just after good wins, or maybe it wasn't such a good Saturday, he and I would communicate, and so we always had the communication lined up. And then me coming back a few years ago, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it was really, of course, after the bowl game, and and I knew that that wasn't the outcome that anyone wanted, and it was Tuesday around lunch, about 12:30 to be exact, 12:28 if you really, because I can tell you exactly where I was sitting at when he called me. We had just came back from the bowl game with Chandler and in Jacksonville, and we drove to Destin, and we were there, and it was cold, but it was Tuesday, and I had just gotten through working out. I went down, I sat on the beach, I was by myself, and I was actually taking pictures of this seagull that was on the beach, and it just kind of was, he was kind of it wasn't bothering me, but he was kind of close to me, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take a picture of this guy. And so I snapped the picture, and it had a beautiful picture of the sun in the background, and it wasn't 30 seconds later, I get a phone call, and it was Coach Sweeney. And he said, hey, what are you doing? And the conversation started then, and we probably talked I mean, it was in depth, pretty quick, and he was asking me a few things, and he was talking about his list and what he was considering, from a coordinator standpoint. And I looked at him, I was like, Coach and I got a great relationship. And I just said, Coach, your list is one, and that's me. And then he kind of laughed and chuckled, and we really talked for about an hour then. And he said, well, I'll call you back tonight. Tuesday night, he calls, and we go for about another hour talking about things, and just hearing his passion and what he wants, and what we both want this program to be back at, and where it was, and he starts talking about Paula, and he says, well, is Paula on board? And I said, well, yeah, Coach, but here she is. You want to talk to her? Here she is, and he gets her on the phone, and and he's on speaker, and I think Kath is in the background, and he's like, well, you want to come back home? And she's like, again, I kind of get emotional talking about it, because and I told her, she was so powerful when we were here, and the impact she had in our players' lives as well. But she made the comment, she said, Coach, I would crawl back to Clemson for you and Kathleen. And, again, like I said, I get a little emotional when we talk about it, because that's how special this place is and has been to us and our family. So, yeah, it started that Tuesday. I know it's long-winded here, but it's important to know that it wasn't just one quick phone call. It was a series of conversations that led into even Wednesday. And and then even into Thursday, and so yeah, I'm excited to be back.
He's a smart man because he knows in recruiting he recruits the mama, and then when he's hiring, he recruits the wives. Right, that's an important piece.
Yeah, well, and Coach and Kathleen have had such a huge impact in our development as coaches, and even as I went on to become a head coach, and she went on and became the head coach's wife, obviously, and just the ability to know how to give back. And Coach always talks about, and I've taken it from him, is the world has so many takers. Be a giver. And that's what he is, and that's what this program was built on. And so we took that every stop that we went and found a way to give back. But yeah, Coach knows what he's doing when he's recruiting.
I love that. Well, recently you were, I'd say, reintroduced to Clemson media here. You let's call it what it is. You got overshadowed a little bit by some of the news of the day, but there was one part from that press conference, you talking about philosophy and maybe a little bit about how things have changed in your philosophy since the last time you were here. I want to play that clip real quick, and then we'll go to reaction.
How will your offense be the same? As in, you still want to take 2 deep shots a quarter, run, 80, 90 plays a game, and then based off of, what you've learned since you've been gone, how will it be different?
Yeah, first of all, taking 2 deep shots a quarter, I'd probably be a little bit disappointed in that, David. Right? Honestly, we're a 2-back run-oriented play-action shot football team that's going to take great pride in pushing the ball down the field. We want to travel and we want to push the ball down the field at least 3 times a quarter. And that means the ball traveling in the air 25 yards or more 3 times a quarter. Chart it, let's figure it out, why it's happening, and get the ball to our playmakers. And how we're going to do that is getting in and out of structures, being able to play. Obviously, we're a base 11 personnel team, but be able to get in some 12 personnel at times too. Be able to change the pace. Probably the one thing you asked what was different, in 2011, it was all about tempo, tempo, tempo. Well, defenses have caught up with that. So tempo now is the ability to change the pace of play and do it in different structures of how you do it. Play fast, play really fast, be able to huddle at times, get underneath center, and be able to change those things. But at the end of the day, let's don't complicate this thing. Let's get the ball to our playmakers, and let's let those guys go make plays.
I know it's my job to gauge reaction, not yours, but people were fired up about this response and love it. I mean, what was the evolution of getting to where your current offensive philosophy is?
Well, over the years, the game, you always got to continue to study what's next. What's the better mousetrap that's being built out there? And so when I left here in 2015 to go to SMU and then moving on from there, I was able to obviously study the evolution of offenses and really more so the evolution of defenses and how they were catching up. And I remember talking to several coaches through my journey of traveling around and just saying, hey, what do you think's next? What's the next cutting edge? At one time it was all tempo. Well, what's next? And we all agreed as we would talk through this is the ability to change the pace of play. So tempo is still a thing, but it's the ability to change and get in and out of structure and still play with pace. And so, yeah, I think that's the challenging part, especially talking to defensive coordinators is, hey, look, we love people if they want to play fast all the time. We're great with that. But it's the teams that change the pace is what gives us problems. And they do it in different personnel groupings.
It's like a pitcher that has off speed to go with the fastball.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then you bring a knuckleball in.
There you go. I love it. If you could boil down, you did a great job very succinctly stating your philosophy here, but if you could choose how people are going to describe your offense, let's say at the end of the 2026 season, what do you want them to have said about your offense or describe it?
Yeah. Great question. We want to be tough. And I believe in order for you to be tough, you have to run the football. You have to be able to present the run. And in multiple ways, and being creative when you do present the run. You're running the same plays, but the creativity, the window dressing behind it. I firmly believe that if you're tough at running the football offensively, your defense is tougher. The people that work in the bistro are tougher. You're just a tougher football team, all in all. And so that's what we are. I'm very distinct, and I know exactly what we want to be and what we're going to be. And it's a 2-back run-oriented play-action shot football team that's going to be built on changing in and out structures and playing with different tempos, but based on running the football.
So, you were here in 2023. You went to Texas State and had a really explosive passing offense at Texas State in 2024. But you took 2025 away and had the opportunity to do something that I've seen benefit a lot of coaches, but not a lot of coaches have the opportunity to do. You traveled around the country and got to see a lot of programs, meet with a lot of coaches last year. What did you learn visiting all these different programs?
Well, first of all, I was very, very honored that these coaches would allow me to come into their programs and just to be a fly on the wall. Most of the places that I went would turn into, absolutely, coach, come in, watch us practice, and tell us what you think. And when I was really wanting to just go in and watch them practice and see what I thought on my own and develop my own, thought process and what was really good and what I didn't like, but because of my time here at Clemson and gaining some credibility and some relationships across the country, coaches allowed me to come in and provided some insight to their program as well. So really what I learned is just the different ways people practice, the different ways that people go into their meetings and how that they teach their players. The things that you would never, did you learn new schemes or new plays? Yeah, somewhat, but that wasn't the whole rationale behind it. The whole rationale is how can we do what we were doing and do it better? And, but just, being able to step back and go and travel, spending time with Tony. Obviously, Tony and those guys at UVA let me be a part and help them in the game planning process. But prior to that, to go to see, the Utahs and the Utah States and the Wyomings, and I traveled all over. And working for Answers allowed me to do that because we were able to get into the analytics of things too, which was huge. But yeah, how to practice, different ways to practice, different ways to meet with players, different ways to communicate with players. Watch some team building exercises along the way. That was really cool. And so, and then be able to sit in and talk ball with a lot of the staff.
Yeah, I can imagine that there's not a lot of opportunity whenever you were deeply involved and invested in your program to have professional development like that. Sounds like it was truly beneficial. We ran into each other in December in Charlotte. I was at the ACC championship game with Coach Sweeney, who was doing some work for ACC Network. You were there, obviously. You're still Coach Morris, but in 2025, you got to be dad. And I remember asking you whether you were more nervous calling plays or more nervous being dad. And now I have the vision of, I think I could see you at the very top row of Bank of America Stadium. Just, I don't know if you were pacing or your head was in your hands. That might be an answer. But what was it like being dad and following Chandler in Virginia last year?
Well, you're going to get me emotional again. It was incredible. And I think you have to back up and look at this profession. And another great reason to come back to Clemson is because of the family atmosphere that Coach Sweeney has provided all this staff. Because his family is so important to him, our family was important to us. And when you're able to, in 2024, I remember sending Paula she was going all over the country to watch Chandler play. And I remember one game distinctly. She was in Florida, and it was a driving rainstorm where she was at. She was by herself. Chandler was on the field playing, and we at Texas State, we had just played a game, and it was raining where we were. And I remember finishing our game and getting dressed and running across the field to get on the bus and sitting in the bus by myself with my phone watching Chandler play. And look, I went back to work. GJ called me and wanted me to come back and help him. And GJ was on my staff. I actually coached him at Tulsa. Yeah. And so I was going back to, I was going to help GJ and help him grow and mature as a great young coach. It wasn't for money. I wasn't doing anything of that. This was to helping him out, and I was very grateful for that opportunity. But I remember sitting there going, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I've got a son that's having an incredible year. And I got a wife in a driving rainstorm, and I'm not there with her, and especially to help support him. And at that point, I had made my mind up, Ross, that, you know what, unless the right opportunity came around, I was going to step away. I was going to step back. I was going to travel and watch him. I was going to be a dad. I still love the game of football. I'd reached out to Coach Elliott because Chandler had committed to him, and Coach Elliott was straightforward with me. He's like, hey, listen, you just be a dad, but you can help us. So I knew I had that, but to travel around, I mean, we would leave, like we played at Cal. Paul and I left a couple of days early, got to experience that, got to experience some tailgating. And then, we didn't miss a game, not a game. And Paula always, and she'll be the first to tell you, she's like, okay, we have to get to the game 2.5 hours early. Why, Chad? And I said, well, because that's just what we do. Yeah. She goes, well, we're going to sit in the parking lot till the gates open. I'm like, well, at least we're not going to be late. And so she would always give me a hard time on that. And then the game would start, and then it was absolutely 3.5 hours of living heck. I mean, because there's absolutely zero enjoyment in watching him because you're living and dying every snap. But the experience and just being there for him, right, wrong, indifferent, good days, bad days. I know he will never forget that. I never will. I know he won't either. And it's definitely made an impact on him as well. And I'm just very fortunate that I'm able to do that past year.
That's great that you were able to prioritize that and travel around, and particularly the season they had, first 11-win season, UVA history. Shout out to, of course, Clemson's own Tony Elliott for the job he's done out there, and Chandler for his role in that. Want to talk to you a little bit about some of your former players. We were chatting recently and mentioned Taj Boyd and Artavis Scott. Taj taking on an increased role here now as the quarterback's coach. Artavis coming back after a couple of years away, coaching at Howard. And as I mentioned that, like your eyes just kind of lit up and you got this wry smile about you. What is your excitement level for having some of your former players be able to help install what you want in this offense, both in terms of personality and culture, but also the scheme itself?
It's so refreshing because they've played in it. They were successful in it. And I know you mentioned Artavius and you mentioned Taj, and we got Cole Stout in there as well. And I mean, these guys, when we start talking our scheme and we're doing installs right now. I mean, to see them light up and to see the excitement level. Oh, hey, I remember that, and to see them and our players, our current players, talking to those guys about what was it like playing in this system. It's refreshing. It means that I'm getting a little older because you got guys on your staff, but that's okay. Because that's called, that's experience and wisdom, right? Yeah. Right, Ross? That's what it is.
Good branding.
Yeah, it's great branding. I mean, hair's a little grayer, but, but anyways, to watch Taj Boyd and to see him interact with our players now and Artavius and Cole and they've kind of got street cred. They got street cred with these guys because, like, oh, hey, we played in it. Let me just tell you what's going to happen. You better be ready for the first day of practice because Coach Morris is going to run you in the ground. If you're not ready, if you're not ready to go, the pace of play is going to be crazy. But not just those guys. Let me tell you, Ross. This is very near and dear to my heart too. But man, we're up there. We're recruiting, right? Just like right now, we were recruiting. We recruit all morning long, and then we talk ball in the afternoon. That's what we do. And I'm watching a kid yesterday, and this kid reminds me of Artavius Scott. I said, you know what? Hey, let's pull up Artavius' highlight film. I want to see Artavius Scott. Would we have recruited Artavius Scott in 2026? Let's watch Artavius, and let's compare him to this kid. And then you got Artavius there, and he's excited. He's got his highlight up there, and he's talking his stuff. And you realize, wow, you're a really good football player. And, man, that kid reminds us of Artavius. And then this morning, same thing. We're up there. We're watching a kid. And I go, you know what? Let's pull up Mike Williams' highlight. Let's watch Mike. So before we watch Mike, I had his highlight film pulled up and shot him a video. And he's like, okay, hey, I'm just looking for players. I don't know if this guy named Mike Williams was he a player or not. And I sent it to Mike, and Andre Ellington, same thing. Reached out to Andre, just same. Let's see Andre, what he was like as a high school player, and Dwayne Allen, but so many former players that had helped build this program and get this program that in that 2011, 10, 11, 12 era, 13 era, and to know that we've got several on our staff of our very own that played in the system is, I mean, it warms my heart because they love Clemson. They had an impact in this program. And when you have that, you're going to get every bit of their best every single day.
Well, and it sounds like even the guys who aren't on staff, like their excitement, they are fired up. It sounds like whenever the news came out, I believe Sammy Watkins and DeAndre Hopkins reached out to Coach Sweeney. They're excited. Eric McLean, who's now a big voice on ACC Network, he's pumped. DeAndre Hopkins was on a major national podcast recently, just effusive with excitement about your return. I mean, what does it mean to you to see the players you had an impact on light up like that, and how does their energy and excitement translate to the current guys?
I think it's infectious. It really is. You know, and I saw Nuke this past summer at Deshaun's wedding, and for us to have the conversations that we had, and him talking about the impact that our offense had on him, and I had on him, and the honesty that he and I had, and that I had with him, and you know, and again pulling. He was another one pulling his highlight film up. Let's pull Deshaun's up. Let's, you know, those guys, and Sammy, you know, we watched his highlight film the other day. Probably 10 minutes, just kept rewatching it. But to have those guys be a voice of reason and be a voice of excitement for this program. Again, it says so much because, you know, their impact in this program and was I mean, they truly have a major stamp on this program, and when they talk, people listen. And when those guys come back to town, I want those guys to be able to, first of all, I'm going to be the first to hug their neck, but I want those guys to be able to say, hey, listen, here's what's fixing to happen in this offense. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what it did for me. And to have Nuke come out and say what he said, and Sammy, and not only did they come out publicly, but when it happened, they were hitting me up and just saying, Coach, great, we're so fired up, and let us know what we can do to help you. And again, it's just, but it goes back to relationships, so Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about relationships. And these kids, you know, these guys, you know, have had such a huge impact in my life and my career as they have the Clemson Tigers and Coach Sweeney's career.
Yeah, and it's still people business. 100%.
Always.
Yep. You know, the headline is that you're back as the offensive coordinator for the first time since 2014. But as we mentioned, you were here in 2023, and you got a little bit of a taste of Clemson's evolution in terms of the facilities, in terms of the infrastructure. What were some of your takeaways from 2023 in terms of players and staff and infrastructure and Clemson's change? What were some of the things that stuck out to you?
Well, first, when I came into town in 2023, driving in, it was just like, wow, this place has grown. This place is definitely changing. You know, I remember the blueprint for this building we're in right now, sitting in our staff room in the West End Zone complex, and we were moving rooms around. I remember Coach Sweeney had me and Coach McCorvey and Coach Venables, and we were literally moving things around. And Coach Sweeney was like, well, I want the slide right here, and I want this. So we were a part of that process of building it. And to come back then, that was the first time I'd been back. I'd never walked in this building. And I remember Ashley Spires brought me in that day because Coach Sweeney called me and was like, hey, you should come be my special assistant. And I want you to get your mojo back, and let's come help us. And it just so happened to be the first day of all-in meetings, right? So yeah. I did get the all-in meetings in.
Yeah.
And but I remember after that first day, Ashley brought me over here and said, oh, I want to show you the facility. Have you seen it? And I'm like, no. And she goes, well, because Paula and Chandler had came to camp here, and they had seen it, and they had talked about it. And I remember her bringing me in and walking me around, and I mean, I was speechless because of just the where we were, which was really good, to where we are now is incredible. And then, you know, to come back to be a part of that, to be here to help both offensively and defensively, to interact with the staff, obviously our staff has grown. That was an adjustment. The building was, just kind of finding where you not get lost going to the weight room type of thing. But to be a part, to be able to, in a different role, it was weird, very strange, but it was a good strange because it's like, okay, look, I stepped away for a few years. Now I'm coming back and be able to help out in many different areas. And just to remain the connected, what has not changed, what has absolutely not changed is the passion of our fans.
Yeah.
It's powerful. And it too is, it's infectious as well because it's just, there's nothing like it in the country. And, you just love it.
And that's not taken for granted. I mean, you weren't here last year. I know you visited a little bit, but we played Florida State last year, and that was into November, where it had been a little bit of a tough year, and it was a primetime game, and you would have thought Death Valley was a matchup of 2 top 5 teams that night. I mean, it was packed to the gills. That place was vibrating. And I don't think there's a single person in this building that takes this fan base for granted.
No, and it takes you stepping back. Sometimes you have to step back to realize how special our fan base really is. And I would tell people all the time, whether you're whatever week of the season it is, and no matter who you're playing, Death Valley's going to be rocking. Go experience it yourself, I would always tell them. And it's so true. And, very, very, again, just those things that, you don't realize it until, man, you come back and you're able to experience it. And then 2023, we beat Notre Dame out
That's
here.
right.
And just to see the atmosphere there, and it's like, man, this is special.
Well, and I've heard it kind of said this way. I mean, pretty much every place in the country can get up for a big game, but this is a fan base that turns every home game, because we only get to do this 7 times a year, turns every one into a big event.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's you pick any week of the season and any opponent, and you're going to get the same. You're going to get the same fan base every week, and you love it. And you love the fact that they're upset when we're not winning. They have a right to be. Let's go. I mean, that's the passion. You want everybody to understand that this is the special place.
Amen. Well, we're going to take a second to open up the fan mailbag presented by the South Carolina Department of Social Services. To learn more about public adoption in the state of South Carolina, visit dss.sc.gov. We'll go to our first question from the fans here. You talked about it a little bit, but do you think your coaching strategy has changed since the last time you were calling plays at Clemson?
As far as strategy, no, not really. Philosophy, yes. Yeah, I do think that's changed a little bit, but overall strategy and how we game plan and what we look for, and it's pretty much stays the same. But to be able to, again, like we said earlier in the podcast, was change the pace of play, change the different personnel groupings a little bit more than what I was the last time I was doing it.
Next, we'll go, what was your most meaningful experience beyond football, and what are you most proud of?
My family. My daughter got married this past July. Excited about my family and being able to be a part with Chandler, but really just being a dad and just kind of being there for my kids. And I know we'll talk a little bit later, but we love horseback riding, and we've got our ranch in Texas that we work our cows on. But it's just simple people though. We're really simple. If you're looking to come to us to try to get excited about it, we're pretty boring people. I mean, we do what we do.
And then one more from the fan mailbag. You talked a little bit about your head coaching stints and everywhere you've been since Clemson. What have you learned about yourself as a coach since you were last at Clemson? And let's go back to 2014, not just 23.
Yeah, and this is any year, and you can go back as far as you want to. It's all about the people. It's all about the people you surround yourself with. And, it's just like in recruiting, just like raising my 2 kids. You tell me you're the top 5 people you hang around with the most, and you step out of the room and let me talk to those top 5 people, or those 5 people, and give me 10 minutes with them, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about what you are and where you're going. And so it's about people. It's about the people you surround yourself with that are aligned to your vision and your standards and your morals. And, so what I've learned about myself is, man, surround yourself with with people that are smarter than you, people that are not just strictly just agree with everything you say, that are people who are going to actually sit there and let's work together in a very healthy way and get the end result that we all want.
There are children of all ages in South Carolina who are in need of a forever home. Many are teens, siblings, or have complex medical needs. Public adoption through the South Carolina Department of Social Services can not only be life-changing for them, it can be life-changing for you too. When you provide stability, guidance, and support, you're giving a young person the foundation to succeed. Learn more about public adoption in South Carolina at dss.sc.gov. Well, as we close up the fan mailbag, I want to look ahead a little bit. One thing I know you've been doing is you've been having individual meetings with every single player on the offense. What have been your takeaways from those meetings so far?
The number one thing I would say right now is these guys are hungry. They're hungry. And when I came in here in 2011, I had a saying offensively that the hungry cat hunts best. And these kids are hungry. These players are hungry. And you can see it. You can see it in their eye. The very first offensive meeting that I had, they're working hard. And they've worked hard every year. Don't get me wrong. They've always worked hard, but they're hungry. And, and I want to know from them is just, what do you want from me? What do you want from me as a coordinator? That's my last question to them. I want to see their goals. And, and in their goals, I have academic goals, and we talk about their plan and plan for after football and after Clemson. We talk about the spring goals, what's happening, coming in, fixing to start spring ball and going through winter training. And then I talk about, what's next year's season goals, Ross. And that's interesting. And let me tell you why. Because as I've gone through that, a lot of the guys, when I look at their goals, it's all individual driven and great. Love it. I want to hear what their individual goals are. You have to have that. And when I look at it, and I'll look at it and I'll talk to them and I'll say, well, so what you're telling me then is that you came to Clemson to watch the national championship game on TV then, right? So what you're telling me? And they're like, no, Coach, no. I go, well, wait a minute, let's stop here. These individual goals are really strong, and I love them. But, hey, you're at Clemson. This is where we expect to be. I didn't come back to Clemson to watch it on TV. You could do that anywhere in the country. You didn't come to Clemson to take part. You came to be a part. And so that's – and once you bring that to their attention, like, yeah, Coach, I should have put that down. And I'm like, well, let's just talk, And then, I want to know what they want from me as a coordinator and what went wrong last year, what they thought. But really, what do you want from me as a coordinator? And listen to some of the things they say. Hey, coach me hard, hold me accountable. And then I'm like, okay, are you sure you want me to coach you hard?
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. And then I always like, okay, that was one. I'm going to write it down. 1:26 at 10:52 a.m. And they're kind of looking at me and they're smiling. I go, no, because when I do coach you hard and you start pouting, I'm going to bring you back in here and go, hey, at 1:26 at 10:52, you say coach you hard. Now, what do you want? But they've been great. Man, these kids are hungry, and they're just I'm excited, ready to get on the field with them.
Well, and those team goals aren't mutually exclusive. I mean, I've sat there as Travis Etienne got his 1,600th rushing yard or whatever it is in a national championship game that Clemson won by 4 touchdowns. So it's not like you have to pick one or the other. Those feed into each other for sure.
That's right.
This is hard to believe. We're less than a month. It would be hard to believe if it was less than a week. We're less than a month from the start of spring practice. What are your goals for spring practice, and how will you define whether or not it was a successful spring?
Well, first of all, I wish it was a week away. I'm excited. We're ready. I'm ready to go. We've got installs up. I've got to get the coaches once they get off the road. I'll get those guys up to speed. I'm excited about that. I think the main thing in spring is we got to develop a cohesive unit, and we've got to become one, and how we're going to do that is it takes to develop that. It takes time and hard time, and what I mean by hard time is they got to be strained. we got to put them in some adverse situations in many different ways. And of course, time is going to take care of itself, but hard time is important too. So, I think develop a cohesive unit, establish our identity. And then finally, I want to see these guys having some fun. Those are my main three things. And coming out of spring, we're gonna achieve those three things. Now, we won't be ready to step on the field for the first game because we don't have to be, but we will be ready for summer conditioning. We'll be ready for skills and drills, and then building that process up to game day.
Well, you teased this a little bit earlier in the show, but talking non-football, one of the things that I never knew about you until you chatted about it a little bit in 2023, you mentioned the ranch you have, and your family are big horse enthusiasts. What is it about this animal that you and your family are so drawn to?
They are the most majestic animals out there. I mean, they're so just soothing as far as just the calming of a horse, and how powerful that 1,200-pound animal is. We love our horses. That's our peace. That's our getaway. That's our just relaxation, is getting on our horses and go riding. They just, each one has a different personality. We have 7. They all have their own unique personalities. But they bring our family together. That's kind of a center point of when we're all together. Even Chandler will get on a horse ever so often. Now that, it depends on his football career, whether you get him on too much. But Mackenzie loves riding. It's just something we love to do together. And it's really something that Paula and I love to do together. And so we love working our cows on it. We'll do some cutting. We'll do some cutting events on them. But yeah, I could talk all day about horses, my horses, and they're actually Paula's moving out here in March. We're bringing our horses out here. We're excited about that. We also own some bucking bulls that are in the PBR circuit.
No kidding.
Yeah. And you're talking about another crazy animal. And that horses aren't as crazy, but these bucking bulls that we have, I do not ride the bucking bulls, though, Ross.
Smart.
So let's don't get that, right? Yeah. Now, I do have had some football players that I've coached that were part of the PBR bucking bull.
Really?
Bull Riders Association. And, that's, you got to be a little bit sideways to ride one of those things, But we do. We have 2 that are bucking. Actually, they bucked in Tampa down at the PBR event last week. We're, now we don't train them, we don't haul them, they don't live at our place, but we own a couple that travel around and part of the circuit, and they're actually pretty good.
I mean, horseback riding and bull riding, even if you weren't the one riding it, are those things you grew up with, or are these things that you kind of picked up later in life?
Paula grew up riding horses.
Okay.
And I did, as a kid, I did have a horse, but not nearly as passionate about it as she was. And so when we went back to Texas from here, went to SMU, that's when we kind of bought our ranch and started growing it. And she wanted a horse. Well, you can't just have one horse. You got to have 2 horses, right? And so we got a couple horses, and then those 2 grew to more and then more. And so, but I did not grow up so much with that. The bucking bulls, on the other hand, is when you can see something that weighs 1,500 pounds and could jump and move at the level and at the speed that these guys can move at, the athleticism of these animals is incredible. But yet, when you put a bull rider on them, that's what you see. But if you just go up to them, I mean, you could scratch them and rub on them, and it's just the athleticism and just the power behind those animals.
Well, you've got some horses in your offensive room that we're excited to see run this spring and into this fall. As we start to wrap up here, I just want to give you the floor. I mean, if you have a message to the Clemson family, be that the fans or whoever, and also to those who are prospective student athletes considering coming here, what is your message to those groups right now?
Well, I think first of all, to our fans, golly, it's just the passion. It's something that I. From the very first game I coached here, it was against Troy in 2011, the passion then and then following and stepping away. I mean, you know, our fan base is good, if not better than anybody in the country, and I love it. And I'm excited, and you know, I'm excited to put a quality on the field that they're going to be excited to cheer for offensively. And you know, from the student athletes that are looking at, you know, being recruited by Clemson, speaking from experience and having been all over the country, you're not going to find a better program that's going to develop you holistically more than Coach Sweeney in the Clemson Tigers and what we have to offer here, from Jeff Davis and Paul Journey to just, again, the overall development. Whatever you want, you can achieve it at Clemson, whatever that may be. If you want to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft and everything aligns for you and you can stay healthy, and that can happen here. If you want to be a very successful business owner, and you know, you look at Travis Blanks and where Travis Blanks is now, and from where he was and coming here and growing, wow, you can achieve that. Anything you want is achievable right here because the resources are right here in this building. So that excites me as I'm able to go. It's easy to sell Clemson. Just come here. Come here. Clemson sells itself, but it's about the people in the building. Everybody's got brick and mortar. Everybody. It's the people in the building. You better study that. And the truthfulness and the honesty. And then finally, for our players, you know, as I told them the very first day, just give me a chance. I won't let you down. I'm not going to let you down. And it's kind of like, you know, again, I go back to the horse riding and the rodeo, and we love the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo. We love that. And but, you know, when you got a roping horse and you see these guys pushing that cow comes out of the chute, and you got the roper coming out quick, and you know, what triggers that roping horse to go is when you put the reins up on their neck. No hold back. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn them loose and let them go have fun. Because if they're having fun, there's a lot of things you can achieve in what we can do here in this offense, but these guys are going to have fun doing it, and I'm going to have fun coaching them.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for giving so much of your time today. So excited to have you back. You know, maybe next time you can pop on the Luke Casey's. I'll throw on my Ariats. We can do this again sometime, two Texans talking to one another. But thank you so much for being here today.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and go Tigers.
All right, that'll wrap us up from Studio C of the Clemson Athletics Branding Institute. Make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode.